Petey Beats here from Pop Turner, speaking to Sarah Fisher about Someone Like You, which is in theaters in the U.S. starting today, April 2nd. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's really exciting because I feel like every time you film a movie, you play this like waiting game and like you're waiting and now people are able to see it. It's never not going to be weird, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels weird. I've had movies that have taken a couple years to come out, and by the time it comes out, my sister's like, "What happens next?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Yeah. And it's interesting because I always feel like adapted, like, source material, like this was a very popular best-selling novel, and now this is kind of the movie. And I feel like from an acting storyteller perspective, I think it depends, but like, what was your relationship with the original source material? Because yes, you want to do it justice and use it a little bit, but this is a film, right? It's not the book, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, exactly. 100%. That's very true. I think the thing for an actor is it's such a huge tool as an actor to dive in and study a book before studying the script, because there's a different amount of detail that's happening in the book. You know, it dives into how they think and how they're processing information, and that is such a gift as an actor to be able to study and read that so intensely. And I was able to do that, which was so wonderful before we got into rehearsals. And and after I dove into the book, then I just dove into the script, and that became everything that I needed. It was just focused on the script because that's the story I'm telling. I feel like it's a very common response where people feel like it doesn't, when you get a book or a show from a novel, it's often like, oh, it doesn't have all these things and it's missing so much. And I feel like I understand how people may feel that way, but I think it's because of how much you can fit into a book versus what we have to kind of
For sure.
condense to put it into a film. So it's naturally going to have to shift a little bit. So after studying the book, I kind of had to just shift gears completely, let it go and shake it off and kind of just make the script my end all and be all.
There's always that ping pong match where it's like,
Yeah.
but is it going to be like the book or is it not going to be like the book? But I feel like that's going to be a forever ping pong match that we can't do anything about. Sorry.
I agree.
So we're just going to leave it and say, this is the movie. But I do find it interesting because a lot happens before, this from an acting perspective, a lot happens before you go to camera. And I feel like I find it interesting, Sarah, with the journey of kind of an actor storyteller where, you read the script, you prepare, and then you go to camera. Does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps, or does it really feel like two journeys, like before filming and after filming specifically?
You know what? It's funny because I feel actually like this project specifically felt like three different journeys, which is very cool. But I really feel like it was because the beginning is reading the book and doing all the research, and included in that prep work is we had the luxury of 2 weeks of rehearsals in Nashville before we started filming, which is a very rare thing. So as an actor, if you hear that you get rehearsal, you're like, I'm sorry, I get what? Like, it was so exciting. So all of the prep and the pre-production, including that time in Nashville, those 2 weeks, were so incredible. And that kind of feels like a journey. Filming in Nashville for 5 weeks on the lakes and sea-doos, and like, it was just with the best people. That's a journey by itself. And now the excitement, we just had the other week, we just had our premiere screening. That was more of an intimate screening, of course, not in public yet, but in a screening in Nashville in Franklin. And that was a really intimate, beautiful experience. And it was in a beautiful theater in Franklin. And a lot of people who live in Nashville came, and it was just this magical night. And now with the release of this, we've been really busy with a lot of press and getting the word out there, because this isn't backed by Hollywood. This is completely by the heart of Karen and her family. They've poured everything that they have into this.
Absolutely. And I'm just wondering, when you look at a film like this, there is going to be, sprinkles of a lot of different themes and a lot of important things. And I feel like those are the best projects, right? That tackle everything. Life, love, faith, like it's got everything in this movie. Is it hard to pick kind of one that you enjoyed from reading the script and like filming, or do you like them all kind of collectively? Is there one element of this film that you really enjoyed from a working perspective?
I think part of what I love about Karen and her storytelling is we can live in this beautiful, magical world of romance and love and dancing and singing and all these amazing things, but that she doesn't shy away and she doesn't turn a corner when it comes to all of the depth and the harder parts of life, the emotional, heavy moments. And she actually dives headfirst into them. And that's what I think makes those sparkly moments sparkle that much brighter, because she shows you all of it. It's so authentic and honest. And for the actors, I was surrounded by such talented actors, and they are our responsibility of making sure we're diving in as deep as we can to that material as well. And honestly, again, I feel like that is part of what makes the romance so romantic, is that Andi and Dawson fall in love at a moment and a time in their lives where they're not expecting to. They're not even really wanting to. In fact, they feel very lost, and they're actually they're feeling quite isolated, but they see each other in it, and they open their arms in those moments. And I think that's how they fall. And that's what makes the romance just really get to you, because it's so deep and it goes in, it's just such a beautiful story. And that's how Karen likes to tell stories. And I think that's such an incredible thing and such a gift as an actor, that we get to dive into all of it. Because you're right, there's a lot. And I love that there is. I think it's one of the best parts of the movie, is that there is so much. There's so much emotional beauty and weight and all the things.
100%. I want to go back a little bit to like the audition process and everything.
Yeah.
I want to know, when you get the role, what is the first thing on your mind in regards to the fact that you have to play two characters? Like, I want to know the first preliminary thought, Sarah, specifically.
The first thought was how pumped I was. I was so excited. Like,
it's a fun thing to think about, right?
It's really fun because I have never done that before. And I love a challenge. I love a challenge. There's so much fun in diving into something that scares you a little bit, in a healthy way, of course, but something that's a little scary and not completely comfortable. And it's not comfortable because it's not familiar. And it's not familiar because I've never played two characters in a project before. So that, again, was one of the first things that drew me. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to play two people. I was like, what? And it's got to be so specific in making sure that they do have this connection, but that they are still two different characters. And hair, makeup, and wardrobe, that was an incredible
journey. And you did an amazing job, by the way. Congratulations.
They are phenomenal. Everyone involved on those teams.
Yeah.
Honestly, Karen has told me there have been countless times where people would tell her, oh, so where's the other actor who plays London? And they didn't understand. When they would see me, they'd be like, where's London?
I could just see hair and makeup being like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're just like, sorry, we're just going to quote that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. They're probably like, yes, let's go. Like, they're probably really happy to hear that. No, but I was going to say, you did an incredible job in this movie, Sarah, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
So good. Okay.
Thank you.
I think the best thing about being an actor, storyteller, is diving into all these worlds, playing different characters. I'm curious, how separate are these storytelling journeys that you've done before this project? Like, for example, playing Becky Baker in Degrassi Next Generation, obviously different characters, different things, but are there kind of some preparation or mindsets that you bring to that experience to someone like you, or are they all separate specifically in a lot of ways?
I feel like that all comes down to the work itself, what it means and what it is to be an actor. And the truth is adding a little piece of your sparkle of what makes you is what you have to bring to a character that you play. So naturally, in every character I play, the interesting thing is I've been acting for 11 or 12 years now. And all the different characters that I've played were brought to life, of course, at different moments in my life. And the truth is, in life, we're growing and changing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So what's cool about that is, at this moment in my life, this is what I had to offer. This is what I had to give. This was what my sparkle looked like then. Today, my sparkle looks like what it looks like now. It's different. It's changed. It's grown. It's experienced other things. And so what's cool about that is it is sort of this slightly different mold of who you are in all these different characters. And at least that's how I like to tackle it, because again, we all have these really beautiful quirks that make us us. And I think that is part of what makes people watch and look at you and study and be like, oh, cool, that person's, they love this thing or that thing, or, oh, they've got this laugh about them, whatever it is. And so I feel like in saying all this, it's kind of a bit of both, that it's still me, but I just feel like it's that's what you have to bring. And I think that's a really exciting part of the work.
I feel like from a, packed with a lot of kind of elements and storylines and topics, I feel like, like a show like Degrassi, I feel like you're prepared for like anything on a script these days, if you think about it, with so many things that are in that show, if you think about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, 100%. Degrassi was actually the first audition that I ever did in the industry. It was my first audition. I had an agent. I booked an agent on a Friday, like agreed that I was going to sign with them, and they said I have an audition on Monday, and it was for Degrassi. And I did 4 auditions. And 4 auditions later, I booked the role of Becky Baker and was on the show for 3 seasons. And honestly, I fell in and fell head over heels in love with the industry and with acting and with the people. Degrassi, it couldn't have been more of a home, and they couldn't feel to this day more like family to me.
Yeah.
And where I got to grow and learn about what it is to be an actor. I really came in being very green at it, and really having little to no experience at all. I had done an acting class. I had done 1 or 2 classes that were introductory, and then
well, you're like your characters. You're figuring things out every day, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was the best thing. I got to learn doing it. And that's how I fell so in love with it, is because, I get to be on set, and on set is one of my favorite places in this world. And let alone being on the Degrassi set. Oh yeah, that's a dream.
Yeah. And I wanted to kind of getting back to someone like you. I mean, anyone you ask this question to, depending on the stuff that they filmed and everything, are going to have different answers. But so I'm asking for your stuff specifically. What would you say the overall pace was for filming this movie? Were there some days where it felt slower, quicker? Was there a little bit of a consistency where it was in the middle of being fast and slow? I'm just curious about the pace of filming, because it gets really heavy, this movie, right? So I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I something so great about it was that we really got to take our time, and they didn't want to rush, because I feel like we understood that we were telling a really important story, and that we were diving into the emotionally darker, deeper, however you want to call it, material. And so we didn't want to rush any of those moments. We wanted to make sure we were telling the story the right way. Because you're right, when you take a big step back, it is a story about so many things. It's about growth, healing, rediscovery. It's about love. It's about healing. It's about healing from grief. And there's so much that we dive into. So those are really important stories to tell, and we wanted to tell them right. So we wanted to make sure we were diving in the deepest we could to really tell the story in an authentic, honest, real way. And so the beautiful thing about this set is that if we weren't finding something, or if we thought there was more to it or more we could dive into, we would take a moment to really have a conversation about it. And that's again a real luxury on set. Because often, it still is a job where you've got to get your day in a certain amount of hours. And if you go overtime, that's really scary for everybody. So there is pressures and stresses that just are natural on any set. But the fact that we, the actors, never felt those stresses, and that we were actually just able to collaborate. And if there was something on set on the day that you sometimes can't prepare for, and you're like, oh, is this working? And can we talk about it? We would chat with Tyler Russell, the director, who's phenomenal. We would have a chat with him about it. And we had the time to do that without feeling let's go. And that's amazing. And that really helps us do the best work we can, because we didn't feel that sense of rush. So I think overall it was pretty consistent, and everyone in the cast and crew were a part of creating that kind of atmosphere.
100%. And starting today, the movie is available nationwide in the US, so in theaters, which is crazy. So people got to check that out, which is so exciting. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. It was so great chatting with you.
Thank you. Very good chatting with you too. Thank you so much.
No problem. Instagram is the best way for people to keep up to date with everything, right? Is it just your name?
It's just my name, Sarah with an H, Fisher, as if it's a fish, and then ER. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popturnative, youtube.com/Popturnative previous episodes. Until next time, this is Sarah Fisher, who you can catch in Someone Like You in theaters across the U.S. starting today, and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.